So you picked for your comic book gene pool episode, you picked Paul Grist Kane,
Yeah.
which was really cool because for a lot of reasons. Because I had never read this book before. I've heard of Paul's name. I never really saw any of his work before.
Mhm.
I saw at the end of I'll say so. You and I were on a panel at IC3,
Mhm.
and you had talked about how like one of your earliest comics, I think you said was like Asterisk or something because you had lived
Oh, yeah, yeah.
overseas. Is
Very,
that
very
right?
early. Yeah, would be
Yeah,
Asterix.
yeah.
Um,
And then because you didn't live in the States then, right? Is
no,
that right?
yeah, I grew up in Saudi Arabia until I was 5. So the like comics and stuff that I had were sort of the things that would be gotten overseas.
Right.
So there might have been a Spider-Man in there, but Asterix is the one I remember.
Right.
And sort of the one that like I would have like these. They're all like big editions now, but the editions I have
Yeah.
were like these like little tiny digest size editions. And I had one that I read until it like totally
Fell apart.
disintegrated. Um, and so yeah, but that's like the very earliest thing. Um, I, I I think in terms of choosing something, I wanted to have something that I could talk about more, and I don't know that I actually have that much to say about Asterix.
Right, right.
It's sort of perfect in its form, but it's just sort of doing its thing. Um,
Yeah.
it's and I
It sort
thought,
of greased the wheel for you though, and at an early age to be looking at that thing because obviously you looked at it till it fell apart, so you got some
yeah,
sort of enjoyment out of it. And
oh,
whether or not it's
definitely,
something you can speak to is a different story,
mhm.
but right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I
uh,
find that. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, no, actually, finish your thought. I'll finish your thought.
I just sort of find sort of like it's it can be very difficult to just talk about things that you like because you just like them,
Yeah,
and you can
right. You don't have to
you
have an intellectual thing to,
yeah,
yeah,
but I felt like choosing this one. I was like, oh, I think I can talk about like this has things where it's not just like I like this.
right,
I
yeah,
think he does really really cool stuff in a really sort of understated way. Um, like I feel like it's sort of easy for people to miss what he's doing,
yeah.
which is pretty complicated at times, and like involves this sort of like I don't know this headspace that I feel
Well,
like
I'll
he
tell
doesn't
you,
do that often in
it
comics.
yeah, that you're absolutely right about that because I didn't know what I was getting into, and there's this technique that he uses, and I was sort of looking at it, going, all of a sudden, I was looking at it and going, why does this page feel like? Oh, I see what he's doing here.
Yeah,
And I went back and looked at previous pages and I went, oh, okay. And we'll get into that for a second. But I just
yeah.
wanted to say real quick. So I did a signing with Pornsack at the same time, like a few weeks
Oh,
ago
right.
when my book came out, and I picked up the first issue of Man's Best. This is the Ash
Oh,
Can, and I'm
cool.
not sure where the
Yeah.
first issue is. But in the back of issue 2 now, he kind of does a little interview with you, and you talk about Spawn being like the first one that got its hooks in you. I guess that's as like American like comics. Is that what that is? Or
Yeah. I mean, I guess when I think of I don't know. I think of going to the comic book shop and stuff. It was
right?
Spawn. Like there was
Yeah.
definitely like Asterix was probably the very first, and then like as a little kid, like Garfield.
Yeah.
And just
Hmm.
like the I'm old enough where it was like I collected the Sunday funnies. Like
Uh-huh.
I had them like that section for I don't know how long a 6-year-old or 7-year-old saved stuff for, but like a pile of them that I would revisit, and Calvin and Hobbes was a favorite. I think I feel like anyone who liked to draw who's my age,
Yeah.
like Calvin and Hobbes was a favorite. Um,
Hmm.
but like it wasn't sort of the all of those stuff you would see in a bookstore, and actually probably you wouldn't see in a comic book shop.
Yeah.
Um, and so like for me, like the going to a comic book store like sort of started with Spawn. I forget what I said in the back of Man's Best, but like, I remember seeing an issue of Spawn and just being like where do you find this thing? And talking to this kid in my class, Scott, and like him like hand drawing me directions to this comic shop called Comics Outpost
Oh my
in
God.
Barry, Vermont, and it's like because I don't know, it's like all this sentimental nostalgia of like,
Yeah,
yeah, not
yeah.
having Google Maps and like where is something? And it's like, well, it's behind the Chinese restaurant, like not like next
Hmm.
to the Bottle Redemption Center on this like sort of back street of Barry, Vermont. It's hard to say that Barry, Vermont has back streets, but like it's a town of like 10,000 people, but
The mean
the
streets, huh?
the mean streets of Barry. But it was like, like Barry was like a 30-minute drive, like a Vermont 30-minute drive. So it's not
Sure,
like it was
sure.
like
That's
20 miles away
yeah,
to go to this comic book shop and like, sort of get into like I don't know, the buying of comic books and all that sort of stuff, which
yeah,
I feel like other people, like when I talk to a lot of people, like no, they're like 8 years old and they are like in the comic book shop or whatever, and it was really much like a high school thing for me where I sort of discovered, like this sort of world of monthly issues and things. I knew about them,
yeah.
of course, but just hadn't they hadn't been in my world until Spawn,
Right.
and
Hmm.
that's sort of what got me into the comic book shop, and started getting like my pull list and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys did a lot for getting people of our age into the shops and getting us hooked, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, like Spawn. I feel like I guess I could talk about Spawn. For
No, we
me,
don't have
like
we don't have to. I
a
was just
lot of
like
the
hitting on it,
image
but
stuff is like it's like this like flash and style, which is good and it's like alluring and it pulls you in. But
yeah,
beyond that, I don't know that I have much opinion about early issues of Spawn.
well, there's not much more to it. It pulled us in as kids, and that's all it
Yeah,
needed to do, really. You
yeah,
know, it did its
yeah,
job. It-
yeah,
and then you get more older and more sophisticated, and you read things
yeah. Or maybe I don't know.
right or whatever.
Like yeah, like I feel like within high school, I'd moved to like trying to hunt down like issues of Hate and
Hmm.
issues of Eight Ball and stuff like that. Like
So you
which
went into
yeah,
the
like
more
went
the
into the
indie
alternative
underground stuff. Yeah,
sort of
alternative,
yeah,
right?
like the weird like adult section of this tiny
Hmm.
little comic book shop, which was like really like a closet, but like there would be
Yeah,
like the Penthouse comics and all that stuff. And of
right.
course, I'm looking, for Eight Ball,
Hmm.
or Milk and Cheese or whatever,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and like that's sort of the sort of indie floppy scene, which I don't know, it seems like it died around 2000. I just don't know that there were those same kind of books coming out. They moved to like graphic novels or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe later, maybe like 2010 was when it was died. But like, um, yeah, you could get like Palookaville and stuff like that, and then it switched over to these hardcovers and stuff. Um,
Right. All right, well, let's dive into this though.
yeah,
So right off the bat, like you can see that he really, even just from the cover, really plans out his illustrations, but keeps his line
mhm,
work simple so that you
yeah,
can tell what's happening, which is, you know,
yeah. It's
always a
super clean.
refreshing thing.
Um,
Yeah.
it's like
And hang on, you froze up on me. All right. You there now?
yeah,
Okay. All right, let's start it. Let's start that over because all of a sudden you froze for some reason.
okay,
Yeah, it is super clean. He keeps it simple.
hmm
I love this hand lettering too.
yeah. Hand letters everything, and he's got great lettering. um, and yeah, just
Loves this
like the
shadow
way,
here.
yeah, the shadow, like what's going on there with just his left arm,
Hmm.
where like it's not really there, but like he's given enough for you to know. I don't know. He does these like really little things that
Yeah.
like it looks like a simple drawing, but really not. Like,
No, there's a lot more to it than that.
and
I love this when cartoonists do this, where it if it's black, it's black. It blends in with the background. There's not a
mhm,
rim around the entire thing. That drives me
right,
crazy.
yeah, it feels like a clumsy way to do it. Like, I think if he really wanted to show that arm, he could probably put some windows going down or something, and then just have them like
Right.
block off. But I
Hmm.
feel like I don't know, it does a good job of sort of like capturing this guy as part of the city, um,
Right.
and like as the story goes on, it's sort of like cool. Like I feel like it benefits rereading because like this skyline comes back, like like it becomes like a motif um, in some of the stories.
I don't think I even noticed that, but
I think it's
I only
well.
read
Are we
like
going through
the first
are we going through
couple.
the whole thing or
No,
just the
we'll go
first
through the
issue?
first. We'll go through
First
the
issue,
first
yeah.
issue. Yeah, because otherwise
Um,
it's pretty big.
yeah, it's
And
like 5 or 6 issues. So.
but man, does he really thinks before he
Yeah,
puts his pen to the paper, about everything.
yeah,
So just to start it off, we get this back history of this city that they're in, this New Eden,
right.
and how it was founded, which is just a cool way to just introduce it with this church,
Yeah,
and then you open it up, and yep, there's that city,
yeah.
and you
And there's the
and you
church.
see
Like
the
I
church,
feel
right?
like it's just like perfectly lined up. Like
Yeah.
so it's like shot reverse shot of the city around it.
And so they start the cops are showing up at this place. Somebody's got a baby that they're holding hostage, for these rich, what are they, multimillionaire fish finger king.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah.
um and there's a couple giveaways in here that obviously Paul is British,
Yeah.
but not too many, actually. It took me a
Yeah,
second to kind of realize that.
it's sort of an interesting thing because I feel like it never says it's the US, but like New Eden feels like that must be sort of New York.
Right.
But then it's not really New York. It's kind of its own little fantasy world.
Yeah,
But it's definitely, I feel like a take on like the American police procedural sort of thing. I don't
absolutely.
know. I feel other countries' police are I don't know, cheerier looking. They got like the checkerboards and stuff on
Mhm.
their uniforms and stuff. And these guys are definitely like shotgun toting sort of SWAT team.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're totally militarized.
yeah.
Um, and then
I love,
he uses the Frank Miller-esque,
mhm,
TV thing going on. But
yeah.
other than that, he's all him, it feels you
Yeah.
know?
And he does some like cool stuff with like the word balloons in that
Mhm.
second panel on the can't quite read it. Looks like it says page 9.
Yeah.
Where like some of the word balloons are sort of behind the spotlight and like
Yeah.
the tail and but then the other tail is coming in front. Um, I sort of look at that. I wonder if he's doing that because he's got his characters speaking in the reverse order. So like the SWAT guy is speaking second, and I
Yeah.
wonder if he's like using that like break to sort of make it clear, like so that the lines don't actually cross each other, but you still get the sense. Um, but it's a cool effect, and it gives like this physicality of like the guy who's approaching is behind the spotlight, and the guy who's there is in front of the spotlight.
Yeah, because generally, they always say, well, obviously this is his own script too, so he gets to make
Yeah.
all the choices. I'm assuming that he was lettering on the page, but
Yeah, I haven't seen
normally
his
when
originals, but I would assume.
yeah, I would guess so. It feels like it because just the way that the balloons are outlined in black, it just kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
But usually it's the first person who speaks is on the left, and that's there must have been a reason why he chose to do it this way,
Yeah.
because he's a very thoughtful cartoonist, as we'll get into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the extreme close-ups just to show the you know the New England police and the little emblem and everything. It's
Mhm.
a lot of really
Yeah.
great choices. And so what's happening is this the detective or whatever has showed up, and the the SWAT team is there, waiting to go in and take this guy out, but he's informed that Kane has already gone in,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Yeah.
And he loves to play with light
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
silhouette from things that are blocking the light.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see that these these cross things here going over the body. It's
Right.
obviously panes from a window,
Yeah.
which isn't something
Uh,
you get all the time. Oh, here's the window right here.
yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. It's like I almost feel like it's this sort of thing, like where it's just like, yeah, this will work. Like on that first panel there, where it's like he doesn't actually have a line for the floor. It's just the
Right.
pattern. Like
Yeah.
um, and then the pattern and same thing sort of for like that close up of him on the other page where it's like you don't actually see the side of him, it's just the
Right.
pattern stops. It's this really stark uh way of doing it.
Yeah, it's so simple that he reaches in deeper into the toolbox to
Mhm.
come up with more complex ways to show that simplicity. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, I mean it's a lot of I think of it, it's like it's a lot of work to do that, like it's to have something be there and not be there, it takes the time of, like, figuring it out and then just, like, choosing to not put in those lines.
Yeah.
Um, and it gives a nice
This
effect.
this panel in particular feels like early Mignola-ish, the face and
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
When
Yeah, there's definitely, like
obviously they saw each other.
yeah, there's definitely a similarity in, like, I feel Mignola's a steady movement to, like, the perfect line, like,
Yeah.
fewer and fewer lines, but the the perfect line. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel there's a similar thing here. Um
Mhm.
Like, I'm just looking at, like, the wrinkles on the sleeve there, on his left side,
Yeah.
where it's just like, yeah, it's just the
Or his
wrinkles.
left
No,
side, this one?
his left side,
Oh,
yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Where it's no, the other one, though, without the pattern, where it's just
Oh,
like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just no it's just the wrinkles being drawn.
Yep.
It's a cool effect.
Yeah, it's just so graphic. I love it. So this is where it screwed me up.
It's a subtle
So
thing, like,
I was like, why are the borders so big on here?
yeah, um, yeah, it suddenly
And
gets he does it sort of throughout, I feel, where, like, it he changes the dimensions of the page
mhm,
for different scenes. So this is like a flashback,
yeah,
and it's pretty subtle. Like, I feel like it is easy to miss, um, but then as it goes on, like, it becomes like, I feel like your mind becomes attuned to it, and you're like, "Okay,
that's
past,
exactly right.
present."
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Um, uh, I'm working on a book right now, and it was trying to figure out a way to show a flashback without doing it with like color and things like that. And so the way that I did it was I ruled out all the present scenes borders and then just that's the only thing that I used a ruler on, and then did it by hand for flashbacks, and it's just a subtle wave
Yeah,
because I just
yeah.
wanted it to be something subtle. And then I
Mhm.
saw this and I was like, oh, just change the aspect ratio.
Yeah,
Genius.
yeah, it works really well. There are sometimes, I feel like when he does it maybe in some later issues where he basically goes square, um,
Oh, really?
and yeah, and for me, like, it's, like, a little too much white on this page, like, I'm like, this like, it feels like a little too much white area, but, like, this, it's just, like, pretty subtle, it's just like, "Why is it narrow?" Uh,
Yeah.
mhm,
So this is when he's getting introduced to his new partner, and she's coming in here.
mhm.
This panel threw me for a loop for a second because I didn't wasn't really sure what I was looking at because they hadn't really established her design yet. And so I was
Right,
like, what
right.
are these stars? And why
Yeah.
is the door, when she opens the door, why is it open like a DeLorean?
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
I was staring at that one too, like, that door, I'm, like, trying to I don't think I figured it out, I'm like, "How is that working?" Like, because it's reversed, so it's his view
It's
from inside,
reverse. Right.
and then
It
she
is.
appears in it, and then she opens it, but I don't know why it's diagonal, I'm like, "How does
I
that
think
go?"
because it is the light, just the light going through it
It's the
somehow.
light
When
shining through it on the
the door
wall?
has opened, the door has opened like this way,
Yeah,
and the light is shining through it, and
okay,
yeah,
on the
putting it
wall.
in the opposite. You know, it's in
Yeah,
reverse here as she's coming through, and then yeah, and then these stars are her sleeves. She's
right,
got
yeah,
a very specific, jacket that
yeah,
we'll find out, later and figure out. And then boom, we're back to the present where,
mhm,
you know, this is his partner. She just heard on the news. For some reason, he needed a new partner, and we haven't figured out why yet.
yeah,
So, they want to go in guns ablazing. He's trying to calm things,
yeah,
and just talk him out of it,
yeah, and
basically.
I like sort of on the bottom of both sides, like, they're doing he does this sort of, like, 1 panel broken into 4, but it's
Hmm.
sort of to make the dialogue, I feel, read smoothly. So, like,
Yeah.
it's these 2 cops on one side and her taking off, and then it's just the guy holding the gun, but it, like, creates this it I feel like without those I would have a hard time with those word balloons. Like, it would be unpleasant. So I like that he's just sort of like broken it apart, and also gives
Yeah.
this idea of like sort of a stillness of a held moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's time progressing as it's going on. It is, breaking it up, and it has this thing where there doesn't have to be an image, necessarily in a panel
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
time.
I mean,
I
I
wonder
would think
who uses that in their work.
that. I think it's really cool. Like if you could just have like a black panel and have it be someone's back. Like it's like
Yeah,
like he's set up all these, very quickly like this stylistic sort of thing where it's like, yeah, it's his back. It's an all black panel. I like that a lot. I guess I like the minimal thing being something.
yeah, yeah. It's minimal, but it's something more, which
Yeah,
is an interesting thing. It's like this weird dichotomy that's going on with it. I love this kid's face too throughout the whole thing. It's just like whatever, I'm fine.
yeah, yeah.
It's like a doll. And I also like how he sort of, you know, uh, stopped drawing around the character here
Mhm.
to kind of pull him out. He
Yeah,
didn't have to do that necessarily, but it could have been too clashing to
yeah.
put it all together. And then again, we go back to the past here. Um,
Right, yeah, the narrow.
his buddies are kind of being dicks. And they give him a couple bullets with his name on it.
I don't think
We
they're his
still
buddies.
don't know.
But but, yeah. bit of antagonism. Um,
Yeah. They're acting like they're all nice. Oh, we wanted you to know how much we're thinking of you,
yeah, uh,
but we'll find out later why they're doing that.
yeah. Um, I also sort of like this thing like her star jacket is just this very iconic sort of thing, and so
Yep.
when she shows up in that panel, like
Hmm.
you're really just seeing like black and two stars, like
Yep.
as she approaches the desk. I just and I feel like he does stuff with her stars, sort of throughout the series, and I just like that minimalism. Like it's so cool to me, and it's like creating so much so quickly too. Like we're so early on, and I feel like he's already
Yeah.
doing it with this
We're
character.
already into it. We already know.
Like I don't even
It's
know if you've
the
seen her full body yet, and you're just like, okay,
I
she's got
was
the
yeah,
no
I was
sleeve. Like
I I don't think we really have.
yeah,
Let's just look back real quick and take a
yeah,
look. No, 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 no. We haven't seen her full body. We've just seen her shoulder and here when she comes in. That's all that we've
yeah.
seen of her so far. But he's already sort of established it. It's sort of that whole Scott McCloud thing. It's just
Hmm.
like the man and the woman bathroom symbol. You recognize it
Hmm.
instantly. Well,
Yeah,
it's two stars on a black space. It's her coming in. It's really great.
yeah.
I mean, that's our job to
Right. Yeah.
really, to boil it down and make it as clear as possible. And even with this aspect ratio, it's not like something that you're consciously thinking about as you're reading it, but you're getting it. It's
Yeah.
almost like you're subconsciously helping the reader move along.
Yeah.
And here she is. I mean, I guess we kind of fully see her, you know.
Yeah. Like at this point. Yeah.
And if you didn't realize that the aspect ratio was something that was happening, you kind of get it now as we go from,
Yeah. I
present
feel like
to past.
yeah. I feel this is for like anybody who missed it. Like here it
Yeah.
is. Like this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And I mean I feel like the way the narrative works, you can tell even if you don't realize it. Like okay, this is a different time because um, you're just seeing different things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Again, like I don't know her entering the building, and just like it's like she's stepping over that shadow.
Yeah.
I think is really cool. It creates a sense of depth um, of her entering the space really simply, um, in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, and her posture is almost like she's stepping over something too. There's a
Hmm.
weight to her. She needs to catch her balance here. Even though I
Yeah,
think what she's doing is sneaking, but
I think so. I think it's just shadows. I don't think she's actually ducking under something. Maybe she is. I'm not
I
sure.
don't think she's ducking under anything. No, I think it's
Yeah,
all just
I think it's just using the form.
hmm yeah, it's the lights from the lights from the cop cars outside.
Yeah.
And she's coming, and I love these word balloons here. The way that he handles them with the megaphone. This
Hmm.
is Captain
Yeah.
John Dexter of the New Eden Police Department. We have the building surrounded. You
Yeah.
know, even though they know that he's in here talking. Clearly
Right. Yeah.
his fellow officers don't think too much of him. That they're still getting
Yeah.
ready to
Yeah. Um,
just really well done. So here's more flashback. We get a little bit more of the story.
mhm.
Um, about how she goes into this bar and sees one of the other cops that is on the force, and she's sort of asking about Kane, and he's saying you better watch yourself with him. He's headed for a fall, and he
Yeah.
kind of puts his hand on her leg, and
Yeah.
um this is where she I guess this is where she's like seeing I guess this is right before. So
Yeah.
the
I think
flashback isn't very far in the past. This
no.
is
I
like the
think he.
first
I
time
think
that they're
he's
meeting
like
up.
just coming back.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, she's going to talk to him, and basically he says like we took two bullets out of his gun. Um, So like he's gonna fire twice before anything happens.
Right. It's basically give the perp enough time to kill him,
Yeah,
you know? And I don't know if they're not thinking about that or if they are thinking about that and want it to happen, but she's not into it. She's seeing it happen on the news. This is
right. Yeah,
there's a line back there where when she shows up to the scene and says, "Yeah, I saw it on the news." So she
yeah,
knocks him out for that.
yeah. And it's
Yeah,
great,
he
like
says,
that.
"Hey, we don't mean any harm by it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's great, like that star, like on her jacket, and then the next
Yeah.
panel, the star is like the knockout star. But it like
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like it's so close to where it was, but in the previous panel, like
That's genius. That's just a
yeah,
genius panel. And his glasses are so close to where
yeah,
they are, you
yeah.
know?
Like it's such a nice.
Alright. So, she sneaks into the church, you know, she now knows that he is missing 2 bullets. She sneaks
Right.
in, you know. This guy, it turns out, is like the brother of
Yeah,
the fish finger fortune
he's
guy
been
and was worked very hard. It was supposed to be his legacy, but now that this baby's here, you know, it's almost
yeah,
like a like a monarchy or something. Like
yeah,
this
yeah.
prince is gonna take over. Yeah.
He's been pushed out of the fish finger money,
More
and the
more
baby's
British
taking his place.
mentality.
Yeah, like, I just feel like that fish finger thing is so British,
Yeah.
just like even I assume it's funny in England, like, but in the US, it definitely is it's a joke.
Just the word fish finger. Like
Yeah,
there was like the Jabberwocky, that not Monty Python movie.
yeah,
It's one of the Mr. Fishfinger is the name of one of the characters, and it's funny and it's gross, and
yeah,
it just all works. It works on so many levels.
yeah,
Um, so the guy's, you know, very nervous, as you can tell from these,
yeah,
you know,
all the sweat.
beady eyes and graphic things. Sees him pull the gun out,
Mhm.
and now we go back to the past again.
Yeah.
This
And
is
there's,
his
like,
old
some other
partner.
signifiers, like, his hair is close cropped,
Yeah.
um, in the past.
Hmm. Um, so they found out that the partner was what was he doing?
He's just corrupt, like, he's he's engaged in corporate illegal activity.
Right.
It
Okay.
like it's sort of like slowly revealed throughout. Like it keeps going, in the other issues that follow, like
Oh,
how he was involved and stuff, and the sort of the crime boss character is shown more and more as
right.
the story goes on. Um, Yeah, I love his lettering. I love like the no click cane, um, that panel, that
Hmm.
the nice movement of the gun. Like, uh,
Yeah, I love that
and
that
and and I
technique effect. I don't know.
yeah, and I think sort of like because it's so simple, like his drawings are sort of so clean and so crisp. It makes everything like really clear, like that he's flipping the gun around. Like, like we have this first panel at the top of that page with the gun upside down in his hand, and then the next panel is right side up. And I feel like the more detailed you get, the harder and harder that becomes to show because there's
Y-
so much other noise on the
Yeah.
page. He's sort of like simplified it down to this very clean movement, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I could see another cartoonist drawing like 6 guns flipping,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
like
or
showing it
something.
flip or something and making it take long, but, like, because I feel that sort of the more panels you put in, it seems the longer it takes, and so
Right.
this just feels very, very quick. Um, I like the blam blam smoke and then,
Yeah, that's just a great
trailing
panel.
down trailing down to
Hmm.
his gun in the next panel. So good. It's like it's a word balloon.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so now this is how we find out that he shot his partner and why the other cops are being dicks and why
Yeah,
they gave him bullets with his name on it and why
right,
they're
yeah,
messing with him by taking bullets out of his.
yeah, taking his bullets out.
So this is great. These are great moments. It's
Yeah,
like the gun is, attached to him, and in the middle of it, she shouts no and Kane, and he sees it,
yeah,
whips around his kid again.
yeah, just totally happy, like, um, and I love that, like, blam, 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 his eyes are closed, like,
Hmm.
like, totally inaccurate.
Yep.
Um,
And even the use of the panels here to break it up and just
yeah,
show you that there's like more time where he's hesitant,
mhm,
and everybody's reaction from the lieutenant
yeah.
outside to the TV anchor
Oh,
to the
that's
mom to the
I love
SWAT.
that TV panel. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, when just like I feel like the way Miller uses it and the way like he uses it, it's like there's always the dialogue on the top. And
Hmm.
maybe Miller does this too, where he just drops the dialogue, but it just like creates this silence of like there's always dialogue here, and now there isn't. Like,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
and I like how he
also,
pushes in hard on this guy too for the
yeah,
intensity.
yeah, this guy,
Man. And this again, just this open panel too, with just
yeah, yeah,
all we want to convey is that he shot wide here, and she's
yeah,
ducking. We don't need anything else. And you know, he gives up here. He
yeah,
didn't really mean any of it. It's all half-hearted. He didn't really want to hurt the kid,
right, yeah.
but uh, and this is great. Just now.
Yeah,
And then the
and
next thing you see, the church is just obliterated.
yeah, totally ruined. Um, yeah, and then the last line I just think is like perfect. There's still a place for extreme
Yeah.
violence in
Vince,
today's
today's urban police
urban
force.
police force. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah, clearly he's also have some commentary on America,
yeah,
The baby's back to the family,
right, yeah,
the bad guys lose.
yeah,
And then would you
yep.
be interested in
The
giving an
news.
interview? Yeah. Great human interest stuff. My time in hell. I
Yeah,
think it's just begun.
yeah.
And look
I
at
love,
that.
yeah, like just the jacket tie. That is so cool.
Boom. End of issue 1.
Yeah,
Such a great issue.
yeah. It's
And
such a great beginning. Like, such a great
and
series.
so glad that this is as far as I've gotten, I guess, is that in
Yeah,
my reading of it. But because I want to take my time with it. This is a book that has very little on the page, but I'm spending
yeah,
so much more time on it than I am on anything else. It's
yeah.
so
Like,
thoughtful.
I feel like sometimes, like, with that first issue, he sort of like establishes like how he's going to be doing things and like the
Yeah, it's the
ways things are going to
language,
work. And
right?
so like as it goes on, it can sort of it's almost like it can become like a puzzle because you're primed, and so
Right.
you're like ready for him to be doing these things. Um,
Yeah.
it's just it's a really really cool series. It looks great. Um, Part of the thing I think I also like about it is like coming like from the very early days of just like doing like photocopy comics and stuff,
Hmm.
and like there's the limits of like what you can do, and it's like, oh, it didn't translate to the photocopy like when it came out ended up being messed up in some way. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this comic, you could photocopy this like 50 times. You could be like so many generations away from the original, and I like guarantee it's going to be as readable, as
Yeah.
understandable. Like it's so solid. While I feel like, as you get more detailed, as you get more like noise on the page, it's like, no, all these sounds are gonna like go through any system. Like it doesn't matter. You don't need like high fidelity or anything. It's like
Hmm.
as crisp as can be.
Yeah. You'd lose my pages after one photocopy of them.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like in on and working on Man's Best, I did a lot of screen tone and just like scanning it digitally and like the way it reacts versus the way the pen reacts and stuff. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, this is
Yep.
a couple generations. This would just be a mess. But like, and I don't know if that's like I remember. I know They Might Be Giants aren't for everyone, and they're not always for me either. But like, they did a thing called Dial a Song,
Hmm.
where basically like you could just call up a number in Brooklyn and you'd hear a song, and they talked about how that affected how they made music because like you're doing like multi tracks and all these things and layering the guitars, and then you put it through a phone line and it's just like obliterated. And so it like forced them to like simplify their sound and sort of make the things work in a certain way so that it could handle that low fidelity. And I think that's just like a really interesting way to think about doing something of like, I'm not going to make it to function under perfect conditions. I'm going to make it
Yeah.
to function under the worst conditions. And and I feel it gives it that strength of like, yeah, you can listen to it really clearly, or you can have like the nice artist edition version of this book, but like you can also just have the photocopy your friend made. Um, and it's kind of like egalitarian or something. Um,
Yeah. That's actually a fascinating way to look at things. Wow. Um, this was a great one. Like, thanks for
yeah,
suggesting it and turning me onto it, and other people, I'm sure. I mean, I
yeah,
don't know.
it's a
It's
great one. Like, it's like 6 volumes, I think, is total in
yeah,
total.
I think so. There's a lot. There's at least like three or four more, if not
Yeah,
five more. So
yeah,
there's plenty to soak in. I mean, I'm gonna have to go out and grab the rest of them.
yeah,
Um, Amazing. So before we go on this episode, your Instagram is up right here, ticking along. Jesse.Lonergan, right?
yeah.
And
Just that Lonergan.
yep,
Everything's
and
my
then
name, basically, some
right.
variation.
Even your
I think
website is just
just
jesselonergan.com, right?
yeah, yeah. There was that period in time where we were like, we're gonna all have handles online and be different people, and it just was like, you're gonna meet me in person. I'm gonna say my name's Jesse Lonergan, like, like like just type in my name. If
Yeah.
it's a bunch of drawings, it's me. If it's like Australian rules football, it's another Jesse Lonergan. Like, there aren't that many of us. Um,
Yeah, I have a problem. I have the opposite
Yeah,
problem with
Chris
that.
Anderson, yeah, you have to add something else to it.
Comics.
Yeah, like, but I think you get people probably spell and pronounce your name right for the most part.
For the
Uh,
most part.
yeah, for the
I
most
get a
part.
lot of actually I get a lot of Chris Sanderson. That happens a lot.
Sanderson, oh, okay.
Or Chris Sanderson. I'm like, what
Chris
am I,
Anderson,
caveman?
yeah,
Chris.
yeah. Um, no, I feel like
Um,
Lonergan, like I get a lot of Lonergan. I get
yeah.
occasionally like Lundgren or just like the people who just read the first three letters and give up, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, whatever.
but yeah, everything's under my name,
Cool.
uh, Facebook, Instagram, X or Twitter or
Patreon.
whatever.
Yep. Your
Patreon is
Patreon
my
is great,
name.
by the way. I'm a subscriber to your Patreon and I love
Yeah.
it. There's a
Oh,
lot of
thanks.
good stuff on there.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel. I feel obligated to post really regularly. So like at least once a week, um, and try and have it be interesting.
It
I
is
always like,
interesting.
I feel like, maybe all of us go through this of just like, I'm really interested in this thing and total blanks from other people when
Yep.
when you talk about stuff. Um, like I've given up sending my grids to editors. Like I used to like the first time I did it, I'm like, this is gonna be on this grid, and I would send just like the blank grid of what the page would be based on, and I'd be
Yeah.
working with it. And I feel like all the editors were like, this like is he gonna put 40 panels on every page? And it's like, no. It's like the underpinnings, and
Yeah.
so I don't harass people with that. With that
Well,
matter. Like, I'll let that go. I'll do a Patreon post about it, and a few
exactly.
people.
That's where you do it. Those are the people who will appreciate it. Exactly. Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming on and talking about this. And hopefully people have already also checked out your Man's Best episode. If not, go and check that out too. And we'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Join my Patreon to see my work before anyone else, plus score physical sketchbooks, mini comics, and commissions delivered right to your door, and reading my new books, Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, as they are made. Go to my website to order original art, commissions, and my books, Lost Angels, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, and more. Gray Matter Drip, The Art of Chris Anderson is available now from Cosmic Lion Productions. Here are the upcoming conventions I'll be at the time of this recording. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps spread the word. Thanks.